Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Once again, we will read and reflect upon the gospel used in today's liturgy, which is the Gospel of St. Luke. Jesus said to the crowds, "When you see a cloud rising in the west, you say immediately that it's going to rain, and so it does. And when you notice that the wind is blowing from the south, you say that it's going to be hot, and so it is. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. Why do you not know how to interpret the present time? Why do you not judge for yourselves what is right? If you are to go with your opponents before a magistrate and make an effort to settle the matter on the way, otherwise, your opponent will turn you over to the judge, and the judge hand you over to the constable, and the constable throw you into prison. I say to you, you will not be released until you have paid the last penny." The Gospel of the Lord. Sometimes when we read a gospel such as this, it gives us a point of view. But if we read the first reading, it pulls us back and gives us an overview. So I'd like to read you the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. "Brothers and sisters, I, a prisoner for the law, urge you to live in a manner worthy of the call you have received, with humility and gentleness, with patience, hearing and bearing with one another through love, striving to persevere and preserve the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. One body, one Spirit, as you are also called to be one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all." That puts a different focus. In the gospel, I'm talking about an offense that I've experienced. Somebody has legally deprived me of my rights. And so I go to the proper authorities, pursue it, have them arrested. If they won't pay back what is due me, then put them in jail until they pay, which they never can. And it goes on and on and on. But there's vindictiveness. There's punishment. I might hear myself say, but they deserve it. And in a certain sense, on a certain level, they do. If my focus is to preserve me and my life and my family, if that's the ultimate of my existence, then maybe that makes sense. But if I listen to the gospel to the Ephesians, I hear Paul, who was so impressed with his conversion when he heard the voice of Jesus say, "Why are you persecuting me?" And Paul was doing what he felt as a believing Jew, what his religion required. He was serving God. And yet here, as he hears Jesus respond, "But when you persecute any of the people, they're mine. You're persecuting me." And that's what his letter is saying. The reason for that approach, rather than vindictive punishment and getting even and protecting what I think is mine, is I see it differently. I step back and I see in others the Spirit of God. I see in myself that same Spirit. And that motivates me to be more patient, to be more forgiving, to be more understanding, to reflect the presence of God in all situations with all people. There is neither Greek nor Jew, free or slave. There are creatures given by God the gift of life and the gift of God's presence. What a difference it would make if I could live that, if our culture would respond to that belief, if we would treat all people with dignity and respect because they're loved by God. Well, does that mean they should get away with everything? That's not what it means at all. But it does mean, and I think if we stop and reflect, that my own experience is that I wind up getting more accomplished with patience and compassion and forgiveness than trying to throw people in jail, so to speak, by punishing them, by forcing them to do what I think is the right thing. We do it in raising our children. After a while, all of us, I'm sure, get to a point where we don't get too excited about rules. We try to get around them. We cut curfew. We start telling little lies. We're trying to get ahead of the game, so to speak, and we're probably successful. Hopefully, as we get older and more responsibility, when people, for example, get married and have children of their own, then it starts to dawn on us. Maybe I have to be more patient. Maybe I have to see the love that's there. It's not easy, this loving stuff. I need to constantly reflect. I need to step back. I need to try to see the whole picture. Not only what God has taught me in the scriptures. I can almost prove anything. But I try to get the whole idea of his teaching. And Paul gives me a dimension that I don't necessarily get in Matthew and Mark. But there it is, that the union and the kingdom, rather, of God is beyond a nationality, beyond geography, beyond even religion and theology. It's about loving. And the reason, because that's where we find God. Do I believe that? That's the challenge of my life every day. That's what going to Eucharist does, reminds me that God is not only here, but everywhere today, wherever I am, with whomever I am engaged with, whether it be pleasant or unpleasant, whether it be fair or not. That's not the criteria. The question is, what do I believe? Who do I believe I am? Where is God? And so prayer, it can be difficult. And sometimes I can get lost in it. And sometimes I find myself using a phrase to justify my already arrived at conclusion. But when I step back, and when I ask the Spirit of God in me to teach me, to enlighten me, to show me what I'm experiencing, then I see a different world. I see a different kingdom. I even see a different Jesus, the Jesus that reveals himself in this universal love, that we love God and neighbor and self. And who is our neighbor? Everyone. That's what I need to pray about and realize that's not easy, but I'm not alone. I have God in me, and God is in the person with whom I'm dealing. Celebrate that presence. Worship that God in myself and others, and I'll find that charity and compassion and forgiveness are the only way to go. I hope that you continue to have a safe day, and we continue to pray for one another. Thank you.